SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom is a childhood platformer loved by many, myself included, as the best game of when my parents were the only way I could get my hands on a new game. In a platformer, the most important thing, next to jumping, is camera control. Can you beat Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated without moving the camera? The rules for the run are simple. I am not allowed to move the camera at all. I even used Steam's controller configuration to make sure I wouldn't be tempted. There are some instances where this is unavoidable, such as using the bubble bowl and the cruise bubble. I, of course, am not allowed to abuse them, and will only use them for button presses unless an enemy is in front of me or I meander the cruise bubble in flight. Secondly, the camera is controlled while you slide. Because of this, I will be skipping the sand mountain, except for the 2 spatulas I can collect without sliding. The camera abuses I will allow are Sandy's swing camera, bus stop, checkpoint, and warp box. With the rules out of the way, let's be nostalgic about a game that will bring me as much pain as my life did back when the original release. Collecting the stuff in the pineapple was easy. Depth perception is going to be a blast this run. I didn't grab the sock in the library, jumped on the bed and paid the troll toll to get into this closet's hole, and got my first spatula. I cruised around Bikini Bottom, grabbed my golden underpants that aren't stained because I soiled myself, I promise, and elite gamered my way to my second golden spatula. Jellyfish Fields was the first stop on this isometric perspective run. Making my way through the first section was easy, just like Vanessa Carlton making her way downtown. I stopped to give myself a wedgie that would make the middle school bully blush, and I made it to the second section without having to engage my elite gamer skills. This is where I discovered that sliding moves the camera. I was both happy and sad, because at least I could use this to manipulate that sweet angle I was staring at these sea creatures with. But I pressed onward and bullied the first battle section no problem. Playing as that soft pink boy Patrick, I encountered my first real dilemma, the lock-on system. I tried to kill myself like the kids on Fortnite always tell me to do, but it didn't make a difference. Thankfully, I used a 1000 IQ play and manipulated the slide to get my camera in the position to send me on my way to Gamer God status. The cave almost made me commit Sudoku, but I manipulated that camera in a way that would make the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills jealous, and got out of that cave like a bad father gets out of their kid's life. The next section was nothing special, as I made my way to fight King Jellyfish because I heard he hadn't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet. Like all of you should. Please. King Jellyfish is the first boss of the game. As the first boss, he should be a pushover. But because I'm sadistic and I made this challenge for myself, I died against him for the first time I think ever. But I soon avenged my own death and made my way back to Squidward to get the heck out of here. Downtown Bikini Bottom was next on the list to be conquered by Clippy. It was no problem getting through the first section, except the SpongeBob and I exchanged some choice words that would make your southern grandma say that you need Jesus. The rooftop section was nothing but a thing, because I could use the swingers to exploit the camera like a snake oil salesman would exploit you in the 1920s. I made it through the lighthouse and found the inner light within myself as I exited this downtown section to spend a day of rest and relaxation on the beach of Goo Lagoon. I aligned some towers like my tires need aligned, saved some kids because it's the right thing to do, struggled to throw a melon at a button like I struggle reading people's emotions, made it across the moat because I refused to give up, just like anybody who holds these gamer guy skills, climbed the castle, and made it out of here to advance this crusade. The Goo Lagoon cave was nothing special, which reminds me of the time I found out I wasn't really as special as my mom always said I was. I died a few times to change the camera to a more acceptable angle, and I made it out of here without having to channel the collective skills of all of FaZe Clan. The pier was also nothing to write home about, although the conjuring of gamer skill not seen since I last played Halo 3 with the boys caused the game to crash. I aligned the final tower, gave myself another wedgie, and talked to the big red Chad himself, Larry, to receive my reward. Taking down Sandy was easy like a Sunday morning. I never questioned my ability here, just like you should never question yourself when you go to shoot your shot. This fight goes much faster than it did in the OG version. Although I had plenty of fun mumbling the "spying," the old clothesline move, to myself over and over, the throwing was gracious and gave me the marker I requested through WhatsApp. The only thing I hated about this fight was my inability to make it through the second clothesline without getting clapped. I don't know if it's because I suck or what, but either way, that squirrel went down. Having a third of the game done was a great feeling. Although I was upsetty spaghetti over the camera movement from the bubble bowl, it was what it is, as I got through the first section of the Mermallayer. The throwing section with Patrick was one I expected to have more issues with. After dying once, I was able to get a great angle off the respawn, and this section went down as easy as light beer after a long day of sitting on the couch unemployed. I spent way too much time on this next section. More time than I would have liked trying to get a sock. A sock! Like, I know they want to make things difficult to get, but my lord, one sock was probably the toughest part of this run yet. I am ashamed at how long it took me. I kept throwing myself at it over and over and over, but eventually I was able to collect the sock, which made me really salty, because I remember this section from when I played it as a kid, but I didn't remember it was just a sock that you got as a reward. I didn't even attempt the ball roll challenge, because screw that. And a tower turn challenge? Forget about it, because it had about as much of a chance getting done as I do becoming the next president. I made sure to clap Prawn just to make me feel better. I died once, but due to the power of editing, you don't get to see it. With Prawn put on deep freeze, I was done with the Mermallayer, and thank God. Rock Bottom was next, which I have surprisingly not hit yet. I talked to Puff Mama, used the bubble bowl to adjust the camera, to which the punishment was death, had no trouble with the Spongebob area. That is something that's much better about the remake. I hit the struggle bus pretty hard trying to get across the rooftops because I am Big Dum Dum, and after meandering about, I finally made it to the museum. The museum was super easy with Sandy. If my little brain child self had known that I could have done this as a kid, it would have been a lot less headaches that were caused back then. I guess I just always switched to SpongeBob as a kid because I was a moron and he was the main character. But, whatever. Because this section was so incredibly easy, I just disabled lasers like a super spy, flew around a little bit, and got out of there. The slide outside caught me by surprise. Because of this, I had to manipulate the camera like the bloodbending lady in Avatar, which made me cry just like Katara did at the end of the episode. I gave myself yet another wedgie, but this time it was just for a sock. At least I had enough to trade with Patrick now. I said hello to darkness, my old friend, at least a few times, and spent way too much time trying to find the right platform to go to in order to go to the next spatula. Up to this point, my knowledge of the game has served me well and kept me from going insane. Because, I mean, at least I had a little bit of an idea of where I was headed, even though I couldn't see. But here, it was the bane of my existence. I was starting to feel as low as this canyon goes. Thankfully, I tried, and tried, and tried, and tried again until I was successful. I did an easy slide for crabs, not pictured because it was boring, and returned the art to Puff Mama and got out of here. After buying a spatula from Krabs and trading 10 socks to Patrick, it was time to fight the fourth boss of the game, Robo Patrick. This first section was fairly easy, although I did have to move the camera around to Bubble Bowl to hit him, but, you know, what are you gonna do? Because I had disgraced this challenge with the use of the Bubble Bowl camera, I decided that the swingers I wouldn't use, because the Sandy phase would have basically made that boss fight a bit too vanilla. I whacked Robo Patrick in the kick me sign just like a bully would have in the 1960s, but I mean, come on, no one does kick me signs anymore. No kids bully each other on that. Now they bully each other based on what Fortnite skins they have. The third phase was easy as well, and I didn't have to move the camera all around too much. I can thank RNGesus for that one. And with the final blow, I was able to uninstall exist.exe from Robo Patrick for good. With a lot of these big baddies out of the way, I could see I was getting closer to my final goal in that sweet, sweet 75 spatulas. After backtracking to get spatulas specifically at the sea needle, I was able to get the spats I needed and go to my favorite level, the Kelp Forest. Like House of Pain, I jumped around and used a box and died to switch the camera, and I got my first spatula of the place. I also decided screw them kids, in the Michael Jordan meme way, not the Jeffrey Epstein way, because I ain't saving those guys. I used some epic speedrunning skills to skip the most annoying puzzle of the game, thank you very much Shift, and made my way to the most tedious part of the game, the Kelp Caves. When I say this level is tedious, oh man do I mean it. I had to go back and forth and back and forth, switching between Patrick and Spongebob. It was made that much worse with the camera restraints because I was already getting tired of switching because the level makes you. Switching because the camera demanded it was finally giving me that sweet dose of pain that hurt so good. I hate this level. I struggled for a solid minute here trying to hit this cruise bubble target. I don't know if it was because they changed how it controlled or what, but I was getting steamed more than hams that are obviously grilled. This was making me so mad. I didn't even get the button pushed on this try. I had to change the camera angle to finally get it. This was the struggle I knew was coming, but didn't think it would suck the life out of me like when you finish a Capri Sun in one suck. Oh my gosh, this was awful. After experiencing my own personal hell, it was finally time to get out of here. I hated this part of the level. Did I say that already? Because I skipped Sand Mountain slides, and I skipped Sandy's Dream slide later, sorry, spoilers, I decided that I was going to have some fun and go down this slide. But because my life is a joke, and this is one of the harder slides in the game, I died more than I had fun. But, calming myself down, I was able to beat the time trial and get out of this godforsaken land. Because my spatula count was as low as my IQ, I went to SpongeBob's Dream next, as I didn't have enough to go to the graveyard like all the cool millennials want to. I already talked about skipping Sandy's Dream, so I won't here. The overworld was simple, except for this jump puzzle with the bounce pads. I'm no gamer god, but man this made me saltier than the 8th grader with the tap-out shirt when you tell him that wrestling is fake. Squid's Dream, for me, was as true to the show's roots as it could have been, in terms of it being SpongeBob's personal hell. I died here so many times. I love this level because it's the most challenging platform section, but doing it without moving the camera took me so long I almost wrote my wife a letter from the front. This is something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, which is hilarious because I actually got cocky after the first section and thought, oh, this isn't that bad. But you can only take a blind stab at a section for so long before it starts to eat away at your sanity the same way termites eat at pieces of wood. Oh my gosh, this was bad. Crab's Dream wasn't too bad, although I was sad I wasn't able to cheese it the way I did when I was a kid with the OG game. But soon enough I figured out that killing each enemy type makes the burgers go down, so you can end this torment. I think my least favorite enemy in the remake is those triple dudes. Their hitboxes seem off, but I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm just a scrub, and a scrub don't get no love from me. This was the last interesting section of this Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. As Patrick just gives you his spatula, I grabbed the one across the way, and I made it out of the dream the same way all of my dreams have come to an end. The Dutchman's area wasn't awful either, as I shot something that I didn't even know you could shoot in the OG version, and I grabbed the spat that was on the sunken ship. Like seriously, how is anybody supposed to know this is here besides just kind of jumping at whatever you see? But anyway, this little slide gave me a lot of trouble. Maybe it was being beaten down by Squid's Dream or something, but at this point, I was not having much fun. Ha! Seriously though, this short of a slide shouldn't have been a problem at all. But thankfully, after manipulating the camera, I was able to get what I needed and got across. This section wasn't too bad either, as it did some sick jump puzzles, swung around, and finally made it to the pirate ships. The pirate ship wasn't bad either. I clapped some bots, swung around, and fired some cannons to get that spat I so desperately needed. The Flying Dutchman boss fight was as easy as the multiplication problems you got in 2nd grade, and I clapped his cheeks as sandy cheeks to get the spatula I deserved. I got this ghostly jerk his ship back, so why did he take it? With all the main areas completed, I needed to do some cleanup in order to reach the coveted 75 spatulas, such as this one in the kelp forest. I found the last steering wheel to give to Puff Mama, and I grabbed some stanky socks I missed to get me to that lucky number I needed to raid the chum bucket. Robot Spongebob is the last boss of the game. He has 2 phases. The first is where you shoot the cruise bubble at those green spots. It isn't very hard, and not being able to move the camera really wasn't much of a hindrance at all. The next phase of the boss fight has you hit fuses inside Robo Sponge in order to shut him down. It isn't too difficult, but the jump pads between places do change the camera angle. I did cheese one section in here, because once a cheeser, always a cheeser. And I sailed to the final section to shoot these bubbly boys at his brain to finish this no depth perception run once and for all. Booyah, baby! And that is how you kinda beat SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated without moving the camera. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment if there is something you want me to do for a challenge. Subscribe if you haven't, and thank you to Mitten Squad and Senza for inspiring me to make this video. Have an amazing day.